Hey, what's happening? And welcome back to The Bald Perspective. On your way in the door, go ahead and touch the like button. Hit subscribe if you've never subscribed. And if you would like, hit the notification bell so you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk. Where do we go from here? Question of the day, the week, the month, the year. How did we get to 6 and 7? How did we fall so far from those preseason predictions and projections? Projections in the preseason were as low as 11 and 6, which was one of my projections, but as high as 14 and 3, which I've seen some other people predict or project. But no one could have imagined that the Baltimore Ravens would be sitting at 6 and 7. No one would have imagined that we started the season 1 and 5, go into the bye week with that record. No one would have imagined that we would have come out of the bye week and hit a 5-game win streak, but then hit a 2-game losing streak over the last 2. And now we get ready for a Cincinnati team who's pretty hot offensively, and they're hoping their goal is going to be to end the Baltimore Ravens playoff hopes, which a loss this Sunday could absolutely do. So here's the question. Where do we go from here? The controversy surrounding the Baltimore Ravens' last loss was a call that was made for a touchdown, and then the league review overturns the touchdown and takes points off the board. Now, the Baltimore Ravens absolutely needed those points. They absolutely did. And it could have put them in a winning position. Would we have won? Nobody will ever know. We could predict and project that we would have won that game, but the referees were definitely involved with some shady calling or shady outcomes for that last game. And so you have to serve them up a portion of how we got to 6 and 7, not the total reason, because there's been bad refereeing all year long in Baltimore Ravens games, but in all other games as well. But the Baltimore Ravens still hold all their own cards. A 3-1 record going down the stretch could get them into the playoffs with a division win. A 4-0 record would almost absolutely guarantee them the division. 3-1 would set us at 9 and 8. Then you need some help from the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4-0 record, we hold our own destiny. But how we got here is just a compilation of a lot of things going wrong, whether it was fumbles in the first 3 games, 2 Derrick Henry fumbles we can recall, Buffalo, and then the Detroit game, late in that game that kind of turned the tide. In game number 4, I think if I'm remembering correctly, Lamar Jackson gets hurt. Although we were not playing good in that game, he gets hurt, and then he misses over a month of football. And then here comes the train wreck that was Cooper Rush. And then we kind of find a little bit of gravity for ourselves and get pulled out of a hole. And then the last couple of games, self-inflicted wounds once again. Bad play once again. And the truth of the matter is this Baltimore Ravens team has not really been good all season, as I've previously stated. But what the fourth picture represents is an anonymous Baltimore Ravens player. Doesn't matter what his number is or who he is, because it represents several Baltimore Ravens players who have been missing in action this season. You see, when we look around the Baltimore Ravens team, part of why we're in this 6 and 7 situation is some players just have not shown up. The Baltimore Ravens silhouette anonymous player could be a representation of every offensive lineman on this team, because none of them have really showed up with any level of consistency. The anonymous player could be Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, who has not really found himself since he got back from injury, that being Isaiah Likely. And then Mark Andrews hasn't really been the Mark Andrews of old. And we understand he's aging. He's 30 years old, which is not old, but still being considered a top tight end in the league. I guess we would have just expected more at this time. When you jump outside and look at the wide receiver room, one guy in particular coming off of his best season, Rashad Bateman, has not been showing up this season. And I know that there is some plays that we could pull that shows that he was open and that the quarterback just didn't go to him, whoever was playing, quarterback at that time, because we've had 3 quarterbacks under center this year. He just hasn't produced. And he's had his own drops and things of that nature. He just has not taken the next logical step forward or just a lateral step to reproduce what he did last year. The anonymous player could be any of the pass rushers. Any of them just have not showed up this year. The anonymous player could be, at times, Kyle Hamilton, who doesn't seem to be making the same level of impact. So it could be any of the Baltimore Ravens players. But what I'm specifically doing is talking about those players who should be having an expectation of producing. I'm not saying they should be Pro Bowl level every week, but there is a level of contribution that we're just not getting from the highest wage earners on this team. Ronnie Stanley hasn't looked like one of the better offensive tackles in this league. Tyler Linderbaum, who is supposed to get paid this offseason and will get paid by somebody this offseason, has not looked like one of the best centers in this league. Mark Andrews has not produced. Rashad Bateman is not one of the better wide receivers in this league, but he's supposed to be one of the better wide receivers on this roster. And he just has not been that. He's had minimal impact at best. They just have not shown up. And then defensively, we were excited probably more about Mike Green and the potential that we may have the pass rusher who could lead us into the future. Probably more excitement than even the first round pick Malachi Starks, but it just hasn't turned out to be that way. And this is not to kind of throw any implications onto Mike Green. I'm just simply talking about the results just haven't shown. Whether that's scheme, whether that's his youth and just isn't used to playing against that NFL talent just yet, whatever it is, the results just haven't been there. Roquan Smith, high wage earner, he hasn't really had a great impact over the last 2 seasons. He's not changing the game as you would expect a $100 million middle linebacker to do. Just hasn't. And then Kyle Hamilton, one of, if not the best safety in the league, not making game-changing plays. And we can talk about many of the reasons why, but the fact of the matter is the why doesn't matter at this point. How we got here to 6 and 7 doesn't matter at this point. What we do going into Sunday and beyond, but first on Sunday, is all that matters. If the Ravens lose Sunday, they don't get into the playoffs. If we don't get into the playoffs, I think it's time then to begin to have major conversations about change that not only need to be coming, but should be coming. There are some players under contract that probably need to depart if the Baltimore Ravens miss the playoffs. There are some coaches, if the Baltimore Ravens don't make the playoffs, that need to depart. But the not showing up, the anonymous player who has not made his presence felt this year, if they don't continue to show up, then the hope of a playoff berth is over, and it creates many more questions for the Baltimore Ravens' future. So you guys let me know in the comment section who you believe has been missing in action this season and what they need to do going forward to push this record from 6 and 7, Not that brain rot craziness, but to 7-7 and beyond. Until next time, I'm your Gabalanger, and I'm out.